Now it's saying we're going live.
I see live.
Hey, all right.
While I'm filing my nails.
We're there. File your nails, whatever, I guess.
Well, kill two birds with one stone. I'm a busy person. I got to do what I can when I can, right?
I guess, yeah. I mean, everybody is busy from time to time. I guess it might as well be you too. Multitasking, that is, where it's at.
That's right.
I'm not much of a multitasker. Well, I am, but I'm not. I don't like multitasking, so every now and then I'll just screw it up just so I don't have to do it.
Oh, God, you're funny. Okay, let's get this going so I can see comments.
It's about expectations. It's about setting realistic expectations. You want me to get X amount done? Well, I'm only going to consistently get Y amount done, so you don't expect X.
I see. Does that pertain to all activities?
No, it does not. No, not at all. There's certain activities where I go to all the way to Z.
Comments. Oh God, that's funny.
Oh, and then I did it again. I even muted it once, and then when I had to restart it, I forgot to mute it the second time.
And there goes the whole multitasking theory.
Yeah, it's out the window. See, I told you I can't multitask. Don't expect me to do more than I should have to.
You're just a man. So.
Is that my excuse?
Yes.
I bet you that doesn't fly very well, though, in most cases. Hey, sorry, sir. I couldn't get that done today. I'm just a man. What do you mean you didn't freaking mow the lawn? Well, it was a little bit too much. I'm just a man.
Every time I hear that phrase, I think of that Bon Jovi song. There's a Bon Jovi song that has that line in it.
I'm just a man.
Yeah, now that's going to freaking bug me. See? If anybody that's watching knows what Bon Jovi song I'm talking about where he says, I'm just a man. That's going to drive me. Now I'm going to have to Google it. Damn. Why do I do that to myself?
I bet you Brad knows what Bon Jovi song you're talking about, where he says, I'm just a man. Yeah, I would have written that song and it would have been a hit, but, I'm just a man. That's going to be my new thing. That's my new tagline. From
hashtag just a man.
Hashtag just a man. That's 2018 Raw and Real. You can get them at the Raw and Real store. I don't have one, by the way. I don't actually have a store. Can you believe that? No.
We're going to have a Mile High Club store.
Ooh, Mile High Club. Yes. I believe I said something about Mile High Club a long time ago.
Yes, you did.
I don't know if I was talking about a store, though.
Wow. The store will, and I won't get into that. Anyway, we're late tonight. Sorry, but if you watch regularly, what?
We're late every night.
I know. I was just going to say, if you watch us regularly, you'll know that we are regularly late.
Yes, that's the one thing we do well consistently.
Yes. And because we get talking so much.
We kind of live in that. I mean, we got time zones, and it's hard to
Brad. Sorry.
Work with time zones. It's like East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. You got Eastern Standard Time, Mountain Time, Central Time, Pacific. But then we work on a whole different time zone, and that's the ish time zone.
The grit and grace ish time zone. Zone. Let me tell you, it hurts my brain. I'm Pacific. You're Mountain. Mile High operates in Mountain. Bobby's Eastern. Oh, my God. Brad, you win the prize. Ding, ding, ding. Yes, that is the song.
Yeah, I told you Brad would know. I told you he would know.
He's even given us the YouTube link. You rock. We will send you a hashtag
allegedly
t-shirt.
or possibly a hashtag, I'm just a man t-shirt.
Just a man. Yes.
Yeah. So one or the other, you'll expect that sometime around, I don't know, November-ish of 2019 or 20. We'll get that there.
That's right. That's right.
So tonight on the show, we just discovered the ish time zone. That's all we got time for. So thank you for joining us. Good. Oh, I'm just kidding. So tonight we're talking about addictions, and I can guarantee you right now there is somebody right here in this audience who has the same addiction as I've got.
Sex.
Close.
Just kidding.
Close, but not that one. It's
guaranteed.
actually technology. Technology. I will admit to being a technology addict. I've got my iPad right here. My phone is in the house charging right now. I cannot go more than, I bet you I check my phone at work even. I bet you I check my phone 3 to 4 times an hour.
You minimum. Do. I see you come on and I know that you're at work and I see you on. Well, and you and I chat.
Yeah.
Your wife says that you're always on your phone.
No, even my wife is calling my ass out. What the hell?
Right. That's right.
Yeah, he's an addict. I was going to try to send him to treatment, but that intervention didn't work. The damn counselor kept looking at his phone.
Technology and social media. Yeah. I like a post Ashley Sanders made the other day that she social media'd too hard or something. The other day she was taking a break. I thought that was funny. I love the way you said that, Ashley. I think that's definitely a big one. I learned some interesting things as we were doing research, because that's what we do. We do research when we do a topic, because we're not doctors and we're not going to, we're just sharing the information. We're starting the conversation. And I came up with some interesting stuff. But I think no matter what the addiction is, it all leads to the same thing.
It does. It really does. And the thing with addictions is it can definitely hinder everything you do in your daily life. Your jobs. I mean, you can lose your job. Same thing can be done if you have an addiction to alcohol. Same thing with gambling. Same thing with drugs. You can lose your family over these things. So they're very destructive. Some of the habits can be very destructive. Now, when it comes to technology, maybe that's one of the lesser destructive things, or maybe it's just more. It's a more acceptable. I'm tripping over my words again. It's more acceptable, socially acceptable, maybe, than the other addictions. However, I mean, because you're not gonna. When you're sitting at the bus station, you can pull out your phone and you can scroll through Facebook, and everybody else you look around and they're scrolling through Facebook. But you're not going to find anybody being socially accepted if they've got a porn fetish, or maybe if they're shooting up in the bus terminal. That's just not something that we accept.
That's right.
That's right. So we are going to be talking about addictions, not just the bad addictions, the good. I guess there's really no good addiction. Did you find any good addictions?
I think that's an oxymoron.
I agree.
Because an addiction, I think by definition, is something that interferes with your daily life and is harmful and affects the lives of those closest to you. I think you can have, the social media thing, if you can still carry on, well, I don't know. And, again, I'm not an expert, because addiction doesn't just prey on people that, less educated, less money, things like that. There's some, CEOs of large organizations that have addictions that are high functioning. So, we tend to look at addiction as people who just, they can't get out of bed, they can't go to work, but there are high functioning people that have addictions. But I think at some point it's gotta hit rock bottom. You can't carry that on forever.
Right. And I think for everybody, it does eventually hit a point, and rock bottom will look different to everybody.
Well, true.
Rock bottom does not necessarily mean out in the street on your ass. Sometimes rock bottom is just, hey, I lost a promotion that I was going after. And because I lost this promotion, things ain't right for me at work anymore. So I either A, have to quit, or B, my performance goes down till they fire me. That could be rock bottom for somebody too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris, I think, yeah, music may be a good addiction. Yeah, there is one for sure.
I don't know if it's really an addiction though, so much as it is what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, yeah,
Passion?
I love music. Yeah, passion. And passion and addiction, they could be really close. When you're looking at what a passion is and what an addiction is, there are a lot of similarities in what people outwardly project. So yeah, it's I think music is, if we want to call it an addiction, though, I will agree with Chris 110%. That is probably a healthy addiction. I know someone out there is thinking, but what about exercise? Exercise is healthy.
Well, it is, but I've seen some bad things happen with too much exercise too. But, I think it's a word we use quite loosely in things because some people say, so and so has an addiction to, say, social media. That's their perception.
Yeah.
So, us not being addiction specialists,
Right.
this is, um, not something that we can say for sure. But in doing research on this topic, I learned something really interesting, and I was wondering whether, because I've heard a lot that addiction is genetic, that it's absolutely genetic. If you, um, have a parent that's, an alcoholic or a drug abuser, that it's genetic. And I've heard that, and I thought, but I wanted to dive into that a little bit more. And several studies said that it's 50% genetic disposition and 50% poor coping skills, which I totally get. I think that, when you have poor coping skills, it's easy to go to something like that to numb things out, and no matter what addiction is, not just alcohol or drugs, because it's very basic. We run from pain, we run to pleasure.
Yes.
So, but I think the good thing to look at is, the decisions you make and the actions you take and the things you do, are they mostly you're running from pain, or are you running to pleasure? And I think if you look at the things that you do, if it's the majority is always running from pain, because I think it's better to look to something and run to something, the thing that you want, the vision you have for yourself. If most of the things that you do, it's just for the matter of running from pain, it's very easy to find things to immerse yourself in, to forget what it is that you're doing.
Sure. And there's a study that I looked up that I had seen that actually supports what you're just saying there. You remember back in the late 70s and early 80s, there was a commercial on television where they showed a rat in a box, and they had two bottles of water, and that the rat would constantly go to the bottle that was laced with cocaine, and he wouldn't go to the bottle that was laced with water, or that just laced with water. Yeah, that just had water
laced with water, that good stuff.
Yeah. So the commercial would go on to say, look, see this rat, it will continue to use the cocaine rather than the water until it kills itself. And this could be you type of thing. And there's a big misunderstanding as to first of all, what the drugs actually did to people and why they were doing it. But then there was another study that was done. A doctor had seen this and said, you know what, I don't agree with this, because the control was pretty bland. It was pretty just, there it is. If you got one rat in a box, an empty box with two bottles, and there's cocaine in one, and there's happy birthday, Jake. Man, I wish we could be up there to celebrate your birthday like we did way back in the day, but unfortunately we're not. But getting back to my topic here, I know that was kind of crazy, huh? So this guy said the control was too sterile. You got two choices, and you're in an empty box, and it's one rat. So then what they did is they decided what we're going to do is we're going to add multiple rats. And he created this like fun zone, this Disneyland for rats, basically, if you will.
Oh, fun.
And he gave them two choices, just like everything. And then he gave a bunch of rats a box that was like basically, I don't know, Drew Carson's mind with two choices, and very dark place, very dark place. So sorry, Drew, you know what I mean. So anyways, he gave them the same, same number of rats, a little bit darker place, a little less fun, and he gave them two choices. Well, the ones in the darker place
went to the cocaine.
They went to the cocaine. The ones in the happy place, yeah, they tried the cocaine, but they would go back to the water. It didn't really matter to them. It wasn't like, oh, let's get our, whatever.
That's a great study.
And the reason why that was brought up was because of returning veterans from Vietnam. Over in Vietnam, it was more common for soldiers to be high on, PCP and heroin. It was easy to get, and I mean, it was as common as chewing bubble gum.
Wow.
But when they all came home, the majority of them were just able to quit, just not do it no more. And they would re-enter their lives, and it just became a story. Yeah, I was high in Vietnam type story. Mm-hmm. So that got the guy thinking, Vietnam is a horrible, dark, dreary place. Home is the happy place. So what they basically found out is when people are in a good place in their lives, when they don't have extraneous stressors that are causing them difficulties in their life, they're less likely to turn to drugs. Yeah. And the ones who, maybe their marriage is breaking apart, maybe their jobs aren't providing for their family, maybe they're in a place where they're just above the minimum level, where they're still in poverty, but they're just not quite making it. Those are people that are going to be more susceptible because of the place that they're in their mind.
That's right. So
that
was a great study to show that. Absolutely. I just want to reference Brad, predisposition. Just because you're predisposed, you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean that's where the coping skills comes in. But yeah, absolutely. Just because you're predisposed. I totally love that study. I never saw that commercial. I never heard of that study, but that is a great example of that. Yeah, if you have something to look forward to, if you have something that gets you excited, you're running towards that. I mean, it's so easy to just numb out. I mean, how many times do we eat something that we love and we eat it? We're so full, but we keep eating it. Like you just keep shoving it in your face. It's bad, but you are just like, that's it's like a lame example, but it's an example. Just because you know better, that thought is really, really powerful. So I went one step further on this whole genetic. I wanted to understand the whole predisposition thing, and this was something new that I found out. The genes for addiction have an evolutionary advantage. So this is why we're predisposed, why it's in our genes, because it was placed there to have an advantage. So an animal eating a certain food that's good for it, and it has pleasure eating it, and it feels better, it becomes wired in their brain to keep seeking out that food. And then their children will, and so on. So it became an evolutionary process. But like humans, we fuck everything up.
That's what we do well. Hey, we've got this thing. It works perfectly. It's a freaking screwdriver. It takes out screws. How can I fuck that up? I can make it flat.
But see, there's the example of the animal seeking out something that's good for it,
right?
Looking for the pleasure thing, right? So again, I mean, it's looking at what are the things that you're doing in your life. Or is it just always based on running from pain? Try and switch it to running. If that's that thing you're running from, that thing that is causing you so much pain, try and find the pleasure point of it. Try and reframe it. What is it you do want then? Go
Well,
after that.
and that's a thing though. A lot of these addictions, that is the pleasure point. That becomes the pleasure point.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to say sex, people who are addicted to sex, that is their pleasure point. Now it becomes less pleasurable over time, just for the simple fact that they are so the chemicals in the brains don't release the right chemicals anymore. I mean, said that wrong. The parts of your brains that are responsible for pleasure and all that kind of stuff, and the pleasure receptors, this, that, and the other, they don't release the chemicals that's necessary for you to feel the pleasure anymore.
Yeah.
So that addiction, it really becomes that pain over time. Same thing goes with drugs. Now, after reading that study earlier, I kind of went back into my old days when I myself had problems with addictions. I had, at one time I used methamphetamines fairly heavily, and I got to thinking about it after reading through this study. I was like, come to think about it, it's very, very true, because at the time I was using, it was in a place in my life where it was kind of dark. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't have a why. I didn't know how to be present in the moment. I was always looking for something just to take that away, that pain away, or whatever it was. And then I found, of course, crystal meth, and that was my thing. That's what made me feel woohoo, no more problems, we're good. Until it came crashing down, and all those problems became just an explosion of, oh, holy fuck you, Chris. And but then as I was going through, I got to thinking, well, how was I able to quit? Because I never went to treatment. I never went to a rehab center. How was I able to quit? And it came from allowing myself to be happy, allowing myself to understand that it's nobody else's fault. All I have to do is make the decision to change, and then I can do it. And when I made the decision that I was going to make myself happy, and I started looking at, like you were saying, you look for the pleasure, look for those things, reframe those things. Once I started doing that, I turned to my family, and my family were able to help me. And I quit using. I haven't touched a single thing in years now. And it's because, like you said, I was able to reframe that. I found a new place to focus that pleasure. And it was just that quick and easy. But if I had not read that study, I wouldn't have been able to frame it that way. I wouldn't have been able to explain it that way. The study really helped me be able to tell this story. And I was kind of worried about that earlier today. It's like, how am I going to tell people that I was some piece of shit drug addict that couldn't freaking support his family for nothing? The wife had to go to work while I sat on my freaking fat ass and smoked dope all day.
Wow. I did not know this about you.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of shit people don't know about me, but I am an open book. I am always going to tell the truth about my experiences, because those experiences, hopefully one day somebody will come up and say, because of you, I didn't stop. I was inspired by something you said.
Yeah.
And that's why we do what we do, is because we just want to be able to give people the opportunity to say, that dumbass did it, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Exactly it. I mean, it's stories that definitely grab us and make a difference in our lives. And that's an example that addiction isn't a weakness. You hear a lot of times that people say, if you were just stronger, you could get over it. And it's really not about that. It's not about being weak at all. Not about, it's not about being a weak person. Because, this addiction crosses all socioeconomical lines. Yeah. So it's not about being a weak person at all. There's a lot of things. And this really does go back to our series on the 6 human needs, on how when growth and contribution needs are not met, you can usually find someone that's pretty broken.
Yeah. And you and I both know from going through the test, I'm pretty high on that contribution and growth table. So
Yeah.
I was broken pretty damn good.
I think we really need to have some more compassion for people who are. And I really learned what?
No, I don't. Before you, I don't want you to finish that, because here's the thing: when we say we need to have more compassion for people who deal with these addictions, this, that, and the other, what the person with the addiction hears, it's not what you're saying. What they hear is, we need to cater to their needs, and because people with addictions are very needy. They're very much takers, and they will only hear the words that are important for them to hear. So basically what you start to do is you start to enable them with the excuse of why they're in addiction. Well, this is a disease. No, it's not a disease. You're a dumbass.
Well, I think maybe to understand
yeah.
that I don't know anybody who would choose to have an addiction that would interfere with their life. But I definitely understood a little bit more when years ago, probably about 9 years ago, I had a severe sciatic issue, and I was on my back for 4 months straight. Like, I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk. And I was doing everything to get better. And around that time, hubby got really bad diverticulitis, like really bad.
Ouch.
And so he was on, he got better, but he had these pain pills left over, Oxycontin.
Oh.
And so I was having some pain, and it was like, well, why don't you take one of these? Like, stupid. We are grown adults. You don't do shit like that, but take one of these pills. Okay. So I think I took these pills for 3 days, maybe. They didn't really take the pain away, made you like a little bit high. But one day I hadn't taken one for a long time, because it was like, it's not really doing anything. I'm not going to take them. I took them for a few days. Well, I felt really crappy, like really sick one day. And I thought, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to sleep. And I woke up and I felt horrible. I went through a weekend of withdrawal from Oxycontin. And I remember I was in the bathroom. I was rocking back and forth. And I remember thinking to myself, I am losing my mind, and I got to get my husband to take me to the hospital, to the psych ward. And what's going to happen to my son? And all these thoughts running through my head. I really thought I was going crazy. And I talked to my doctor about it afterwards, and he couldn't believe that I had become addicted so fast after like 3 or 4 days. And I thought, holy shit, no wonder people who are addicted have been like for years, do whatever they have to do to get that drug to feel better, because it feels like shit.
Oxys are one of the hardest drugs to come off of.
It's brutal.
Oh man, I remember when my wife was on Oxys, and she would, when they took her off, it was like watching. I mean, I knew what withdrawals were like. I've been through withdrawals from methamphetamines. That's terrible. But to be honest with you, you go to sleep for a couple of days, you wake up, you're sore as hell. Eventually it works its way out. You're fine. But Oxy is a whole different ball game. It's like it grabs onto you. And when you stop using it, it puts you in like 3 times more pain than you were ever in to begin with. It's like, it just like, oh, this is why you needed me. Bam, there's the pain.
Well, the example of that becoming addicted was because the kind of pain that I had was not the kind of pain that Oxycontin was for.
It doesn't matter. That stuff is nasty.
Oh, it is nasty. Absolutely. But that's why it took hold so fast after only like 4 or 5 days. And my doctor said, No, you weren't. And I explained to him what I went through that weekend, and he was like, holy, yeah, you were. I said, oh, it was awful. It was awful. So I
See
can't
the
imagine people who are just taking it just to get high
yeah.
that don't need it at all and they take it for months and months and months when only like after 4 days. Oh my God. And so I really understood. I'm like, no wonder they like steal money, whether it's from their family
Mhm.
or they prostitute themselves or whatever it is, because the feeling is friggin' horrible. So, that really gave me an understanding of we have to have an understanding. They don't want to do this. They're, again, you're trying to run from pain, right? But that was
Yeah,
nasty.
yes and no though. I mean, there's a point though where you feel it's almost like, oh, I can control this. I mean, I was very high functioning when I was using, very high functioning. The problem with it is I didn't realize that the people around me seen things differently than the way I saw things, where they the way I interacted with people was different than the way that I would normally interact with people. And I didn't see that. It was normal for me. It was more normal for me to be high than it was for me not to be. And when I wasn't, that's when things would really kind of break down and fall apart. And but that's a common trait though, amongst all addictions. When you're
Hmm.
getting what you need, whether you're a gambler or whether you're a sex addict or maybe you're an exercise addict. You think about people who are like bodybuilders. Some bodybuilders, for example, they call it biglomania, a biglomania or something to that effect, where they just got to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they will use drugs and to get them bigger so they can heal faster, so they can work out more. They'll be in the gym 5, 6, 7 hours a day trying
Yeah.
to get bigger. And it was just recently, oh shoot, what was his name? I just had it and it's gone now. The 5% nutrition guy. Anyways, I don't remember. Anyways, he was getting his hair cut. He was one of these guys. He was not a professional bodybuilder. He was just a guy who wanted to get bigger. Rich Piana. So Rich Piana, he was huge, absolutely massive, was on steroids. He publicly came out to be about being on steroids, told people what he used, how he used it, and this is the exercises he did to get big. One day he's sitting in his chair getting a haircut, boom, falls over dead. And
Heard of that happening.
was that and here's the thing though, this is what really throws people off. Everybody, first thing they say, oh, it was all the steroids, but it wasn't the steroids. It was that he had done so much damage to his body by growing so fast and so large that his heart was not capable of moving the blood through the body efficiently enough to be able to sustain his life, and he just fell over dead.
Nasty.
Yeah, that's from exercise. That's from having that in your mind. You've got to be the biggest in the room, and not the baddest, but just be the biggest in the room.
Yeah.
So going back to what Brad just said, he says, think of addiction as a attention parasitic life form. Yes. That's exactly what it is. They cause false cravings.
Yes.
Seen too many people suffering through it. Drugs, tech, food, etc. You're programmed to attach to it as a craving that overpowers you. Whether pain or pleasure is being caused, the focus is all about the blind focus of getting the source. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but again, that's still just the surface. You have to go below that. And below that is you're not growing. You don't have a vision for your life. You don't have something to look forward to. Your need for growing as an individual and contributing beyond yourself is not being met. We are meant to contribute to the lives of each other.
And think about
give to other people.
Take it back to those veterans from Vietnam. They were heroin addicts. They didn't know if they were going to live tomorrow, let alone next week, half the time. So shit, why not? I mean, think about a more horrible place to be than in a jungle where in 365 days a year, 360 degrees, you're in danger of losing your life. That's enough to mess with anybody. And if heroin is readily available, I guarantee you someone's going to be knocked out on smack before they're going to just like,
might as well like feel good for a while. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But then you turn around, you come back home, you're back in the world, as they called it. And you're with family, friends, people you love, people that you want to be able to have a great life with. And bam, you're right back into your everyday life. Like nothing ever happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really surprised too. I'd seen a couple studies that kids of addicts are 8 times more likely to develop an addiction. I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't believe in studies like stuff like that because it is a choice. I know a lot of people who their parents are alcoholics and
they seem to go one way or the other.
Yeah,
they either become an alcoholic or they're so far the other way.
Right. And I think it depends on the child's experience with that addiction.
Well, again, it said 50% predisposed, 50% poor coping skills.
Yeah.
So I think if you're, kind of predisposed and a parent is an alcoholic and maybe you don't develop good coping skills because what is your life like growing up with a parent as an alcoholic? And some kids, both their parents are alcoholics.
Well, and you can see this in people, in their personality traits. Look at people. You can watch them, and without them being on drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, there's certain personality traits will stand out, and you can see whether or not that person's got an addictive personality or not. Chances are, if they don't have an addictive personality, they're not going to struggle with the decision whether or not to use or not to use.
Mm-hmm.
Those people that do have addictive personalities, and the ones I'm talking about are, say, for example, let's use video games as a good example here. It's certain people, they'll get stuck on like a certain video game and they'll just go on that same video game because they love that video game so much they become addicted to that video game.
Mm-hmm.
You take away that video game no longer exists. They no longer play video games. That they don't care about other video games. They only play that one video game.
Yeah, they're rewired because the more you repeatedly abuse something,
right,
you rewire your brain. Like,
absolutely.
And then it just makes it harder. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy. Addictions are, it's like I said, you can see it happening with people, and you can tell if somebody's predisposed. Let's use that word, predisposed to addictions based on personality traits.
Mm-hmm.
And now, does that mean that don't go out and have a good time and don't trust that person or anything like that? No. Does that mean that they probably are addicted to something? No. But it does mean that if they do start doing something, chances are it'll be easier for them to become addicted to that something than it would be for somebody else who doesn't share those traits.
And it's different too. There's some people that from the get-go of drugs or alcohol, they just like go hard and become addicted like right from the get-go. And some it's just over time, repeatedly doing it often, that comes about that addiction. So it's a really tough thing, but I think from my experience from people I know and a lot of learning that I've done in, coach training and things and human behavior and positive psychology, a lot of it that you look at first is, are you self-actualizing? Are you growing? Are you, do you have a vision for your life? And do you contribute to the lives of others? Because we know how good it feels to give to other people. When we can do something for someone else, it feels so good to be able to do that. We feel good. They feel good. Like it's huge. It makes a big difference. I think we can look from that. And then where, are you are you always running from pain? Like look for the positive, run to some pleasure. What would give you pleasure instead? What is that thing you want? Find someone to help you.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Brad, for being part of the show. Awesome discussion. We love it when people talk in the chat, because that really adds that third dimension to the show. And that, Brad, thank you very much. We appreciate you being part of the show.
Yeah, big time. You gave us the song and everything.
Yeah, I told you Brad was going to be able to do that, though. I mean, I know I probably put him on the spot a little bit, but I knew if there was anybody that jumped into this conversation, Brad would be the guy to be able to save us and let us know what that song was. So thank you, Brad, for the song.
He's very diligent. Anybody else, go check out what Brad does. That guy does lives every day. I've never seen anybody so committed to a goal of doing his sketches every day.
And they're amazing.
They are.
I mean, amazing. I mean, yeah. Here's a funny story, funny story, real quick. I watched Brad's live like 3 or 4 days ago, I think it was, and he was doing some sketches and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, that same day, I got a reminder in one of these sketches that I had drawn one night when I was just kind of doodling, popped up. And it happened to pop up as a reminder. And I opened it up just after watching Brad, and I could not shut that memory down fast enough. I was like, oh, holy shit. That is like, it looked like a stick figure compared to what he was drawing. Let's just put it that way. I was like, oh my God. Very talented, very, very talented guy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. Go check him out for sure. Yeah, this was very interesting doing this information, doing the research for this show. And God, again, I learned something new about you.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where if you don't ask, you won't know. But, but the topic came up. So I wanted to share, and like I always say that, though. I live my life in front of the camera. I don't mind if people know things about me. Just for the simple fact that when it all comes down to who we are versus who we want people to believe we are, I want you to be able to walk up to me on the street someday, shake my hand, and know you're going to meet the exact same person as you see on here. Mm-hmm. There shouldn't be a difference, in my opinion.
No, absolutely not. And especially when you're in business. You know, you got to be upfront and be open. And yeah, we definitely have shared some stuff. We've shared some stuff definitely on the show, but that's what helps other people. I know when other people share stories, and it makes a huge difference. And it doesn't matter if it's one person. I mean, because you don't know who the other people know that maybe could benefit from it is that we're talking about. So that's why we're always saying share. For us, it's really about helping. It's not like, our egos want numbers or anything. We started this. Like we started this because we wanted to be able to share experiences and to contribute and to develop our own skills and because we just like doing this. That's a big part of it. But,
the guy on the right talks a lot.
We really wanted to help people and start the conversation is really what it was, because I see a lot of people are afraid to.
So we started it. Now you guys go finish it.
That's right.
All right. Well, folks, we are coming up right to the very end of this episode. We talked about addictions. On Monday night, we talked about fetishes. They kind of went together a little bit.
Yeah.
We kind of did. We kind of theme things together sometimes if you haven't been noticing. But you can always catch us also on Friday night, where we just go off the rails. It's free for all Friday night. And that's where you get to control the topics. You tell us what you want to talk about. Join us in the chat, share the show out, and get as many people here as you possibly can. And if you got a topic idea for a Monday or Wednesday show, or maybe you have a question, because on Friday nights we answer those questions that people may not want other people to know that they're asking. To do that, well, how do they do that?
Totally anonymously through our website at gritandgracetv.com. Go there, ask your question. It is absolutely anonymous. I'm not just saying that. You can ask anonymously and we can answer your questions on Friday nights, and then we talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. But you can subscribe to our videos on our website and find all the ways that we're available and all the places that we're available through our website. And we would love, 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 right on the homepage of our website, you can leave us a comment, a review, a thumbs up, 5 stars. We'd love it. You can also do that through our Facebook page. And again, yeah, if you have a question. We had a hell of a great show on Friday. I don't remember a thing that we talked about, but I remember we had a good time.
It was fun. We laughed a lot.
We did.
We cried a few times.
Yeah. Last week was good. I don't remember what we talked about, but I remember Friday was a really good show.
Yeah, Friday was a great show. It was a lot of fun. And if you want to know what we're talking about, just go over to facebook.com/Grit and Grace TV. Go through the videos, and it's there. I promise you, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Join the conversation. Fridays are whatever we feel like talking about, whatever our audience wants to talk about. Just throw it up there and join us for Friday nights.
Because Friday nights, you are the directors.
Sorta.
Unless
we have a lot to talk about, which we usually do.
But yeah, you do still inspire the conversation. So, folks, thank you very much for watching tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
Again on Friday night. Please, we would love to see your smiling, shiny faces. That gets us going. That gets us jazzed.
Totally.
Jazz hands. I just knocked my mic. Wow, what a rookie mistake.
Did you ever?
I have not done that in so long. So, folks, if you want to see me actually not hit my mic next time, gotta show back up Friday. Epic fail tonight. Right here. See ya.